Here. Trustee Katsinas?
Here.
Trustee Milani?
Here.
Trustee Compass?
Here.
Trustee Reardon?
Here.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Here.
Mayor Pico?
Here.
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of the May 16th, 2022 Committee of the Whole minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of the Committee of the Whole, May 16th, 2022.
Second. Any questions, changes? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
143rd Street widening, Wolf Road to Southwest Highway, Phase 2. Final design engineering services consultant recommendations.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes. Trustee Rashevsky.
I move to recommend awarding 143rd Street widening project from Wolf Road to Southwest Highway Phase 2, final design engineering services contract to Trans Systems Corporation of Schaumburg, Illinois, in the amount not to exceed $5,399,985, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I'm going to, I have a conflict of interest with this. I have a business relationship with a subcontractor, so I'm going to refrain on any comments here.
Okay. Are there any comments or questions? So I do have a question on this. So the $5 million, which is obviously a pretty hefty engineering bill, is that in line with the $70 million cost of the overall project?
So, Mayor, this reflects a $60 million construction project because this is from Wolf Road to Southwest Highway. The Woolcook to Wolf Road is a separate section and a separate design.
Okay, so is it the $5 million out of 60, is that fairly standard for it to be, roughly 10% of?
For the complexity of the project that we have with the land bridges that is expected and about 1,000 foot of retaining wall, all of that, it's a reasonable number.
Okay.
We do have a presentation, Mayor, if you'd like to.
Sure.
So, Mayor, what we like to do is just take a few minutes just to give a background of the project so that we all are on the same page. This project was started in 2002. I was just jokingly, my kids were not even born when the project started, so. But I wanted to show you this is the presentation, some of the slides that I've taken out that we made presentation to state representatives and senators. And this is some of the information that we have shared. I think one of the challenges we have is when IDOT looks at this project, they look at a project for Orland Park.
Yeah, one thing, the $25 million number, that's not, that's just for us.
That's just for us.
Yeah, so if you're giving that to other people, it should include the sales tax to everybody else, to the county, to the state, everything else, because it's about 10, it's probably, 7 times as high as that.
So we do have like a $2.5 billion economic activity. That's what you see at the last line. That's what we create for the, and Mayor, before
when you're pitching it to Illinois or pitching it to people to get support, showing them $25 million isn't that much. You show them $250 million of activity, which is what they're seeing, because they're seeing, almost between 5 and 10 times what we get.
And Mayor, we did. When we provided information to the state representatives that we met with, we gave them the state numbers specific.
Okay, perfect. Great.
And Mayor, I apologize. I have Chris Bonus. He's the principal with Trans System. He's also here to answer any questions if that comes up. So that's one of the things that we're really trying to preach to IDOT is that this is not a Orland Park project. It's a regional project. If you go to the next slide, please. Just a picture of a 2-lane road near West Avenue. Next slide, please. So this is the project that is from I-355 on the west side to all the way to Cicero, which connects to 294. It's a 15-mile long section. All the blue section that you see is already 5 lanes. Even in Will County, west of Wilcox Road, this is 5 lane, that's 5 lane, and Will County is currently in phase 2, towards the end of it, where they're finishing phase 2 design. But what the rest you see is, which is about 1.7 mile section in the village of Orland Park, which is not 5 lanes road, and which is really the bottleneck. This is the west section from Wilcox to Wolf Road. That is what we call, as far as that we can carry it, practically, it's what we will also call shovel-ready. This is the section that we are talking today from Wolf Road to Southwest Highway. That is the section we're talking about, and that is, this section is a $60 million construction and construction engineering total cost. Next question. Just wanted to show you what we have currently available is primarily 1 lane each way with a center turn, the left turn lane with a pedestrian walkway on the south side. This is what we were going after, is 2 lanes each way with a center left turn lane and a 5-foot walkway and a bike path on the north side into Forest Preserve property. But also we have areas where we'll improve the water quality into the slough. So that's all, this is the section. The properties on the south side of 143rd will not be disturbed through this project. We will stay within our right-of-way. Next slide, please. So wanted to show you what we have done. You know, we have been very actively hunting for money for years. I can tell you from 2016 and onwards, we applied for Tiger grants. We have been asking IDOT to include us in their multi-year program every year. STP fund, CMAQ fund, we got about $250,000 in the CMAQ fund, which is completed, the signal interconnect, which should be coming online in the next few weeks. And then we have been applying for all of these other funds. The last one that we have is currently in the running is a RAISE grant, which has a maximum capacity of $25 million. That's what we are for. But I also, as we all know, the village have spent millions of dollars on this project and continue to spend millions of dollars of our own money to carry this project, even though this is a state highway.
What we've spent, though, does count towards our match.
That is exactly what we have been talking to IDOT, that anytime this project will go towards construction, our numbers will come out of these numbers.
So, and we do, what's our match, 20%?
That's typically our match, is Mayor, but this is a state highway. We should have a 0%.
All right.
Next slide, please. This is another, I just want to share the level of effort. So one thing we have from IDOT in writing, that if we bring the federal money to the project, IDOT has agreed that they will pay the remainder of the money, which is a local share, that they will pay that. That should put us for a 0% into it, but we will continue to work towards that. The other thing that you see that we have been talking and proactively meeting, sending letters, online meetings to federal senators, representatives, state senators, state representatives, Cook County, all of the villages that are around us that are in support. These all have recently provided a letter of support that we have submitted for our RAISE grant. I mean, we have never stopped from asking for help, and we have been getting that. It's just we have not been able to successfully get the money to build this project. Next slide, please. So we also met with, about a year ago, with Illinois Secretary of Transportation, Chief Engineer IDOT, District 1 engineers. In fact, one of the engineers has retired, and now we are working with the second engineer, and then we also met with the program manager. In the last month or so, we met with Representative Durkin as well as State Senator, that they both are trying to schedule another meeting with Secretary of Transportation as well as Chief Engineer and the District 1 engineer to see if they can.
Can you go back a page?
Go ahead, please.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
Just cut a little bit to the chase here. What is the problem? I mean, besides they're going to claim they don't have the money, but is it a political thing? I mean, why? 2002.
So
I mean,
We've been trying for this for a long time. Everyone supports it. It's the
Everyone thinks
number one
it's important.
project since I've been here. It's the number one project for the entire region, for all the mayors. Will County's even given us points above their SDP points, even though it's not in Will County, because it's that important for the region. Okay, but if you notice, go back a page. The 2 state rep and state senators, they're not currently our state rep and state senator. They're going to be, and they're involved. Do you see any other state reps or senators in there? Because Orland Park's been an afterthought. It's an afterthought because we're split into 7 different, and now 8 different senators and reps.
this seems like a non-political thing. This seems
It
like
should be a non-political thing, but
it helps every one of those that, are Democrat, Republican, all the way through the 2
It
villages.
does, but the point is that they don't care about Orland Park because there's not enough votes here for them to matter. And let's face it, there was someone from a different party in here for 14 years before that they were working on this, and they couldn't get it done either. My point is because we have, at the end of the day, as big as Orland Park is, we're sliced into quarters for our votes with the reps. They just don't pay us much attention.
So doing the same thing
Unfortunate.
for almost 20 years now, and talking to the same people for 20 years hasn't got, are we thinking of other ways to do this? I mean, I know we're paying a lot of our own money, but.
That's why we have Durbin, Duckworth, Newman, Davis, who's, a rep down south.
Yeah.
That's why we have Durkin and Curran, because they're new. Right, and that's right in the heart of their district too. So we're trying to reach out to everyone we can that's new. No one disagrees that this needs to get done. And now there's actually money. Because they were given a ton of money from the federal government, so they have money.
You would think.
And the one section that Rashid mentioned, the one that's shovel-ready, Representative Newman did list it in earmarks before earmarks were wiped out. So we were almost there for at least that section.
So it's not for a lack of a lot of effort on a lot of people's parts, not just the villages.
I see that.
Trustee, one of the challenges we have, the IDOT looks at this as a local project versus as a regional project. If they look at this project from freeway to freeway, then it's much easier for them to accept it for funding versus if they look at it in an isolation.
Run spell check on IDOT.
Can I just, there were 2 other support letters recently, MWRD and Cunningham.
Correct. So just like George said, there's
Cunningham did support?
Yeah.
Good.
So coming back to the project, about 6 months or so ago, we initiated a quality-based selection process, which is an IDOT required process for federal funding, where consultant must be selected based on their qualification only, and we cannot have any input on the cost, which we did. We received 11 responses, and we ranked all of them, and then we interviewed the top 4. Trans-System was the top-ranked firm after the interviews. And then for the last 4 months or so, Chris and I have been negotiating our fee and scope of services, and finally we are to a point where we have agreed to a scope and a fee. There's quite a bit in that scope that is very hard for me to discuss it here, but in short, it will deliver a Phase 2 design document that will be the basis for bidding the project. If we get the funding, then we will be able to bid the project. One more thing that we have done in that, there will be a separate design document that will be delivered to us that will allow us to build a metro parking lot for the triangle. So that will be a separate upfront within the next few months. We'll be able to get that out of the project and be able to bid that early next year and be able to go for construction. So that is another thing. I want to make sure that some of the things that is not included on high level is that the land acquisition and their related services are not included, which is about a $2 million effort. Splitting the project, in case we get some partial funding, let's say $15 million or so, then we would have to split the project, then we would have to work with the designer to get that done. That is an additional cost to it. And then the Phase 3 construction engineering cost, if we get the entire funding, is about a $5 million construction funding. That will all come from IDOT. Once that happens, that should be coming from IDOT. But those are the elements that are not included in the project. Next slide, please. So as you read, that about $5.4 million is their fee. We have budgeted $2 million in this year's budget, about 2.6 is budgeted in the next year's budget, and about $800,000 is what we need. We will be asking for that in the 2024 budget. We have $1 million from federal government through the STP grant that is available to us that will be used for this purpose. So our net impact for the project is about $4.4 million.
Okay.
That's it.
Thanks, Rashid. Thanks to everyone for all this hard work. This is, as we briefly discussed there, it's been a lot of hard work for a long, long time, 2 decades that this has been being worked on, and it is the #1 regional project. It's been the #1 project since I've been here, and we're doing everything we can to get it done. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Rashewski.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Abstained. I have a business relationship with the subcontractor.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Sportsplex barrel roof recoating RFP 22-036.
Neighborhood.
I already checked it off, didn't I? 2022 Neighborhood Road Improvement Program, change order number 1.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
move to recommend to the Village Board to approve contract change order number 1 with PT Farrow Construction Company of Joliet, Illinois, in the amount not to exceed $1,192,488.11.
Second.
And Joel gave a brief summary, but I think this is just, we had room in our budget. It came in lower than we thought. We're able to get more done, so we're filling up the budget. Is that correct?
Yeah, just making sure. Yes, we actually came under budget from last year, and we did a budget amendment to move that money to this year, and we're tackling some neighborhoods that we initially got taken off the list last year because we didn't think we could get to them, and with that money now we can do them. So we're
Great.
capturing the two areas that I'd like to get from last year.
Great. And let me ask you, the strike, how is that impacting us? And is it making you nervous for getting everything done for the year?
Yes. Short answer is yes.
Yes and yes?
Yes. We're accomplishing certain tasks that we can do right now that need to be done, which is like curb removal. Some of the vendors are being wise in who they get their supplies from, and so some places are open, some places aren't. It is impacting probably asphalt the most. So a lot of the sidewalk work and the curb work, we can get that work done, and they're working on those areas. But yes, we were hoping that the strike would have been resolved.
So there may be a potential for
some spring work, maybe.
where we have the grind done, but we don't have the...
We really don't, yes, we don't want to open up a road because it starts to pump with rainwater, and the subsurface becomes...
Right.
We have to do
So there may
more.
be some where we have all the curbing done, and we'll have all the curbing and sidewalks done, but there may be some that we can't quite finish because...
Can't rip up the asphalt to get down to the base and do that work. We really don't want to leave that open to the weather longer than it needs to be because we have more rework to do.
So just want people to understand that if this happens, there's a strike that unfortunately we can't do anything about. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Rashewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Sportsplex barrel re-roof recoating, RFP 22-036.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to recommend to the Village Board of Trustees to approve awarding RFP 22-036 to Solaris Roofing Solutions, Inc. of Elburn, Illinois, for a total amount not to exceed $329,670, which is $299,700 plus a 10% contingency of $29,970.
Second. Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
there seems to be a pretty wide gap in the lowest to the next highest in the bids. Do we have any reason to be concerned? I mean, are they using everything's apples to apples? Just because there is such a difference.
Yes, Solaris has actually worked with the village for a long time. They know our buildings, so the other vendors probably put some additional unknown site work and access and so forth. Even though they were allowed to come to a site visit, there might have been some discrepancies there where they added some additional costs.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So the one comment I'll make here is that, you know, we inspected all of these, all of our roofs here, and this one in particular, and because we did that, we actually were able to do this as opposed to letting it get bad where it has to be completely repaired. So just want the residents to know that the inspections that we did got us in a position where we're ahead of this, and this is a much less expensive repair than if they had to do more work to this, and that's because we regularly check it.
Yes. We did a thermal scan to make sure there's no wet insulation, which means that there's a lot of damage, and came back negative, but it's 22 years old. It's time for the roof to be replaced. And so, yeah.
So rather than kick the capital needs down the road where we end up with these large repairs, we're actually ahead of this one because we know at 22 years we need to get it done. Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Milani.
I move to recommend approving the strategy and tactics of the Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program and recommend approving training resources for the Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program as articulated in this agenda report, and recommend authorizing the village manager to execute an agreement subject to village attorney review with one positive place in the submitted proposal amount for executive communication coaching.
Second.
Comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Healy.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to refrain from commenting and voting because I have a business relationship with this contractor, One Positive Place, and William Durkin.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Milani.
I'd like to thank everybody that worked on this and brought this to the board for consideration. I'm definitely on board with this, as we need to invest not only in our current leaders, but also build our future leaders as well. So I definitely believe in continuous and evolving learning plans, and that looks like what we're going to implement here. And having customized ones based on individual needs versus a cookie cutter approach, I think is a great way to go. So thank you for bringing this and thinking about Orland Park's future.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
So, George, just a minor point. Completely agree with what Trustee Milani just said. We'll definitely likely benefit tactically from this program. I think just from a language perspective, when this is presented to staff, I'd like to clarify that the mission statement of this is to underscore that this is a strategic program, right? This is something it's designed to continue beyond the current market demands and needs that we're facing. This is going to be a long-term thing, an investment. So as I look around the room now, and I know of our other directors, there's multiple directors that rose through the ranks. There were assistant directors or deputies prior to their current role. So this program is not really addressing something that's broken, but building upon and investing on that foundation of career development and employee engagement, and really building on the future of our staff here. So thank you for putting this together. I look forward to seeing not only the results, which I'm sure will be beneficial, but to an organizational recommitment to continuous learning.
And Mr. Mayor, we just have a brief PowerPoint, if that's all right.
Sure.
So, the organization has undergone, the village board knows this, the organization has undergone a lot of change these past few years. Many employees, including key leadership staff, took advantage of an early retirement incentive, which resulted in a wholesale change. This provided an opportunity to rebuild the infrastructure, the organizational infrastructure from the ground up. And as we all know, in the turnover rates at the leadership level, both public and private sector, are historic high. So there's a shortage of qualified leaders and a competition for talent, so that makes planning for leadership succession a priority for this organization. The culture in the village's organization is on a path in which the mindset goes from leaders are a select few in the organization to everyone can and should be a leader. This shift is key to creating an effective governmental organization. The cultural shift allows us to leverage these 5 highly effective practices. And I'm not going to read through them, but that is how we're shifting our culture in this organization. The strategy and tactics document that is going to be approved, it provides an outline for the village's new leadership development program. The development program will be for both formal and informal leaders. A leader is anyone who can influence the actions of others. Within the document are also the village's proposed mission, vision, and values. So the foundation of a leadership development program rests on the community vision, the organizational mission and vision, and the core values. The vision statement is that the Village of Orland Park is a distinctive and innovative community that is committed to building strong families and strong businesses that contribute to the place we all are proud to call home. Our mission is to enhance the quality of life of those who live in, work in, and visit Orland Park. And our core values are made up of a transparent, open, and honest government, customer service, fiscal responsibility, teamwork, and excellence. So next steps. After approval tonight, we will start immediately on our next steps. And just as Trustee Malani had mentioned, this is not a cookie cutter. So what we will be doing is each leader will be designing individual development plans for each leader. And they will be working with that with their supervisors. And everybody has different strengths, and then everybody has areas where they can improve. This is what these development plans will be a guide for. We're going to leverage current leadership development programs that we have in place. And as we're progressing through this, we're going to emphasize our core leadership competencies. In our strategy document, our competencies are spelled out, and that's what we're going to focus on. We're going to continue to learn, as Trustee Malani mentioned, and we're going to provide increased visibility for leadership development. We want to let our folks, our team members, know about our program. And then we're going to be strategic in making developmental and interim assignments, short-term, 1-2 month job rotations, wherever we can do that to allow up-and-coming leaders an opportunity to develop. So in order for us not to have a cookie-cutter program, we're going to have a number of resources. The first one is executive coaching, and we're going to start that immediately. That is with Bill Durkin from One Positive Place, and I'll introduce Bill here in a second. We're going to use Franklin Covey. They have a wonderful online on-demand program, very cost-effective. That'll be a resource. Situational leadership is a very good model. Also has online on-demand training. The foundation of this program will be the Thayer leadership model. Thayer is a leadership training organization that is located at West Point. And they've developed a very good leadership program. They have an online component to that. We're working with them right now to come up with a proposal, but that will serve as our foundation for what we find in our tactics document. A lot of the core competencies that are in the strategy document, we're going to work towards in lean office training. Lean is a philosophy where you eliminate non-value added steps, processes. We're actually working with a group right now to finalize a proposal. The group was founded by Dr. Womack, who coined the phrase lean manufacturing. And we would go through a value stream process. We're going to start in development services, and we're going to value stream everything we do in there to see where the non-value added steps are so that we can make that process even better. Media and presentation skills training. We're going to make that available as part of our resources as well. Leadership lessons from great films. So 12 O'Clock High is a great leadership movie. And so we, instead of just making these dry, we're going to throw in there leadership movies and kind of give it a different angle. And then finally, as part of our Tyler upgrade, after we complete our human capital management module, we are going to incorporate NeoGov. NeoGov will replace our iSIMS system. NeoGov also has a Learn module, so we will be able to track our training. We will be able to also incorporate additional training from that. So those were some of the major resources, but we also are going to be using other minor resources: self-paced micro-learning, small group discussion. Regina brought up that a great idea for training for that. Bring up a YouTube video in a small group. So there's a lot of options here for our development. The mayor is very familiar with this matrix, and so the question is, why focus resources on leadership development? And President Eisenhower, in his infinite wisdom, he developed this matrix, and where training falls in is in box 2. It's important, but it's not urgent. It means we do need to do it. It has high importance. We do need to do it, and it's something that a lot of times organizations maybe put off to the side because it's not important and urgent. But it is important. So we are going to focus on leadership development with this.
And if I can jump in just 1 second here. The most important box in this whole box is number 2, because it's doing the things in number 2 that stop it from becoming urgent, and where we've got something that we have to deal with in an emergency or in an urgent situation. So that's the place where you should spend the bulk of your time.
The Army got it right.
Well, I don't know about that.
Coming from an Air Force guy, you got to. Mr. Mayor, I have a question at that point, though. Is this voluntary? I mean, is this, each department head has a plan, a timeline to get their entire, staff through this in a certain time frame?
So one of the
pretty comprehensive.
A key role of a leader is to develop other leaders.
Sure.
And if it is voluntary, right? Anybody that we hope, if you have somebody in a leadership position right now and is not interested in leading themselves first, then we have to reevaluate. Are they in a correct role?
Well, I get my point was saying that because you go to that box, people are dealing with what's emergent and what's important now so much that this plan. I mean, there's a lot of information here and it's comprehensive, but how do you get them to buy in that number 2 is important, so that maybe they would take some things off their plate from number 1,
right,
if they do some of these other things.
No, you're absolutely, and especially in the last couple of years, we've been only 2 steps ahead of putting out fires.
Right.
Things are kind of settling down now, and we are going to now put an emphasis on this next stage of our evolution as an organization. And this is not going to happen overnight, sure, and it's not going to happen in the next year or so. This is an ongoing, and we're going to be mindful of folks' capacity to take on new things, which is why the online on-demand training, for example, as they're developing this, that allows that flexibility. We see that when we're doing our current quarterly leadership development. We have a fixed time and place, and different groups can't make it, right, depending on the season. So we want to have that, we want to be mindful of that.
We build this into their some sort of evaluation that, like, okay, look, you're a third through, you're a quarter through, after a year, 2 years, saying this is great, kind of be I mean, good, carrot and the stick a little bit. I mean, you're not going to dock them or anything like that, but hey, this is great that you're, pushing yourself through this program. I can see all the online work you've done, that kind of thing.
The actual individual leadership development programs are going to have reoccurring check-ins, and it's actually written into the development plan that the supervisor or whoever will be actually checking in and seeing how things are progressing.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Malani.
Just to kind of go kind of towards an answer on this too. It's like this really involves a culture change to be able to do something like this. You're right, it doesn't happen overnight, but when you get people starting to buy in, you make this more important, even though it's not urgent, but it becomes more important. It becomes part of your day-to-day activities, and people are going to be intrinsically rewarded for doing this, right? They're going to understand that they're doing the right thing. They're trying to better themselves. They're trying to better the organization, which makes this whole place a better place to work. So I think that culture shift is really what's going to drive the willingness to jump in. And like you said, there are going to be some people who are like, maybe this isn't for me. Well, then you have to address, is this really a leader?
Right.
And, are they looking to grow themselves as well as the people that are under them? So.
Right. How we're going to measure success in this program. There's three main things that we're going to do. So first, what we're looking at here is the situational leadership model. The mayor is also very familiar with this one. And we're going to try to progress from D1 to D4 for our leaders. The leadership development plans that we referenced, we're going to have regular check-ins. We're going to have measurement tools built into that to see how they're progressing. As I mentioned, a role of a leader is to develop other leaders. And I think Joel can tell you, and the mayor can tell you, in the military, a leader's role is to find somebody to replace them, because they're constantly moving up into different roles or moving out. So that is something that we're going to be emphasizing here, not because people are going to be moving out necessarily. It's that we want to have that you win the lotto, or if you get hit by a bus, we are set with having our own, within our own organization, our leadership development.
It's important to note, George, you mentioned going from D1 to D4. That's a continuum. It's a continuum of leadership styles that you need to apply to the situation, and every one of us that's been that's led people has something in there. There's something along that continuum that we're most comfortable with, that that is kind of our natural style, if you will. But you have to be able to move along that continuum depending on the situation that you face, because your team is going to move along that continuum there, the S1 through S4. Your team will change. Your people will change. You'll get new people. You're going to be constantly dealing with this. So what's important here is to develop all of those skills so that they can move along the continuum wherever they need to be, depending on the situation that calls for it. And that's really important with this. This is why I like this particular model, because it is a continuum, because it changes all the time.
And this model was developed in part by Ken Blanchard. And earlier when I talked about the resources that'll be available, one of the online on-demand resources is Blanchard's company that teaches the training for this. And finally, we're going to incorporate into our monthly report a leadership development chapter that's going to track all of the things that we're doing on a month-to-month basis, so that not only the elected officials can see what's happening, but we amongst ourselves can see where we're doing things right and doing things wrong, or where we can make improvement, not wrong. So finally, we kick off the leadership development program this evening. One of the resources as part of the program is communication coaching from Bill Durkin, and he's here with us this evening. Bill is the founder of One Positive Place. He's a speaker, facilitator, and coach For over 30 years, his unique and positive approach has produced results for over 40,000 leaders throughout the U.S., Canada, England, South America, Spain, and Africa. Bill Durkin's work is built on the science of positivity, human strength, and resiliency. Bill, take it away.
Thank you very much. Well, thank you for being here. This is a great moment for me to be in front of you, trustees. I spent 4 years in Darien as an alderman, and this brings me back to a lot of the meetings we had, and I do sincerely appreciate all your help. So many people don't know what goes on to keep a great city, a great community great, and it's meetings like this every other week that make that happen, so thanks for your service. The work that I'll be doing in conjunction with George is to really work with those leaders individually so that, Trustee Reardon, as you said, how are we going to decide what they're going to do? I'll be encouraging them through our individual coaching how we might be able to build on their strengths. All the work that I do is really built on looking for the good in somebody, bringing out the best in that person. Albert Einstein once said, if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, they're going to feel like a failure their entire life. And so what we want to be able to do as a leadership team is to see what we can do to bring out the best in the leaders that I'll be working with so they can then duplicate that and bring out the best in those folks. You want to go to our next slide there? I do a lot of work with the Gallup organization, and one of the things that is a very strong influence in their work is that leaders are the single biggest factor to your organization's success. If you look for one lever that's going to help your organization not just survive, but thrive, and the people in your organization to really thrive as a team, it's the leader. 70% of employee engagement is influenced by the leader. And so a lot of organizations, a lot of well-meaning senior people have tried for the last 10, 15 years to improve employee engagement. And right now, the research says only about 3 out of 10 people that show up at work are fully engaged. A lot of people show up as good people, but they wait to be told what to do. Those people that are highly engaged, they show up as owners. They show up as saying, what do I have to do to make this community a little better for the citizens that either work here, live here, or visit here? And so what we want to do is raise that. Imagine what you can do if you move that number from 3 out of 10 to 6 out of 10. You know, those are the things that we want to do through the work that we're doing, getting people excited about their role as a leader. If you want to move to our next slide. So we're going to do that by addressing 4 things. One of the things that Gallup and other researchers have found is the #1 skill of the leader is to have individual positive conversations. We're moving from just an annual review to weekly check-ins. And so we want all the leaders to have weekly meetings, to get out of their office, to move in to interact with people and really listen to them. The reason that people stay at organizations, according to the research, is that they're being developed, that they see that there's got a growth plan for them, that you care about me as an individual, not just as, you know, what we're doing. So we as leaders have to think about putting the relationship a little higher than the result. We're still accountable for results, but the leader should be thinking about, how do I develop this person? How does this person feel like that they really matter? You know, they say that everybody makes somebody happy. Some people when they enter a room and some people when they leave a room. You know, we want to be the kind of leader that says, thank God this person showed up because I'm going home kind of energized. And a big focus of my work now is not just in the organization, but how do we send leaders home so that they're better for their family and they're better for their community, so that we can really send out leaders that are a positive influence and in all areas of their life. So we're going to focus on 4 key skills, and these are training skills. These are skills that leaders need to develop in order to bring out the best in others. And one is accentuating the positive. You know, there's so much negative news right now. There's so much negativity that people start to focus on what's not working. So we want to train our leaders to look for the good in somebody, look for problems and see possibilities, not just kind of have a victim mentality or a critic's mentality. Very hard for us to lead as a leader if we're leading a bunch of critics, right? Good people, but they're just pointing on all the things that won't work. So what we want people to do is kind of develop the skill of accentuating the positive in people and in problems. And then the second key skill is listening. How can we as leaders really learn to listen, not just for what we want to hear, but listen to connect with somebody, listen to actually find what we have in common, listen when that other person needs to be heard. That's why it's so important to have these weekly check-ins. We can't just randomly say, okay, come on into my office, I've got time now, I'll listen to you. We have to be ready to listen when somebody else needs to be heard. And then asking positive questions, asking the right question at the right time. If I ask you what's wrong, you're going to open up that file drawer and tell me what's wrong. But I could also ask you what's going well. What have we been doing well? What are the strengths of our organization? You know, what's some of the positive things that you did? What are you really proud of? George went and did a nice positive conversation with all the lifeguards over at the pool when you had that challenge where a little boy almost drowned, but everyone there did the right procedure. And that little boy is alive today. Well, George went over there and said thank you, you know, and we want to just encourage you for doing that. Those are little positive conversations where we're asking people to talk about what they did well. And then finally, resolving conflict. You know, the life of the leader is filled with conflict. Whether it's a business battle or a family feud, we're dealing with conflict all the time. And most people have never been trained to resolve conflict. They have a tendency sometimes to avoid it, right? And then leaders sometimes, after you avoid it for a while, if you get a little frustrated, then all of a sudden it's like you put down the power card. You know, I'm the boss, do it because I tell you to do it. And leaders will always be able to command compliance, but they will never be able to command commitment. Commitment comes from moving from being a boss to a coach. Now that's just one skill that all leaders need, but it is an important skill that we want to learn. As Mayor Picala talked about, it's a continuum, and we all have a bit of a comfort zone in one style. And what we're going to be doing with your leaders is help them to have the right skill at the right time for the right reasons. And that's all going to be about you know, individual experiences with these individuals. I also think that, as George says, we want people to get into some positive projects. So a big part, Trustee Malani and Campus, you talked a little bit about, you know, having, you know, where you're going to get the time and, you know, what are we going to be doing to kind of prioritize this in quadrant number 2. A big part of this is going to be saying to people, we need to make development a number 1 priority, so that when I develop you, you're going to go out and do a lot of the work. You know, one time I was working with a group on that Eisenhower matrix, and they said, look, we don't spend any time in quadrant, you know, 3 or 4. We're spending all of our time on these fires, 911 emergencies. We don't have time to develop people. And I said, I understand every organization needs good fire chiefs, but because we're not spending any time in quadrant 2, not only we are the fire chief, but we're also the arsonists. Mm-hmm. We're also creating fires because we're not developing people. So we want to create these positive projects that leaders underneath the leaders I'll be coaching will be leading and developing, so that a lot of these issues that might be fires, you know, today, tomorrow, they're going to be development opportunities where you're going to be preventing those things from happening. So that's our plan, is to give them opportunities to really move from being that boss to a coach and developing other leaders, so that we can bring out the best in everybody, one conversation at a time. So, questions?
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Campos.
Not really a question, just a comment. First of all, thank you, Mr. Durkin, for being here. I think, what resonates with me throughout my own experience professionally and from what you're saying here is it's the individualized attention, right? I think for being a leader, you have to have your own authentic style. Not everyone can be the leader like their leader is.
Right.
And I've seen a lot of times and on occasions where people try too hard to be someone else. Right, so you got to have that authentic style, and I think the second part of that is that your style has to be individually tailored to those that you are leading, right? It goes back to it can't be cookie cutter. So I'm excited about this approach. I'm excited that you're here to help us coach.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Any other comments? Thank you very much, Bill. I appreciate it. Any other comments overall? So I think this is great. As the only one here and here, except for Ray, who was number 2 at Parks at the time, has seen the organization 5 years ago versus today, and it's a very different place, and I think a vastly better place. That's not to say it wasn't a good place before, but it was just very different. And as George pointed out, I mean, aside from police who weren't eligible for early retirement, we lost half our full-time workforce. And I knew when getting here that we needed some big change, big cultural changes, and wasn't expecting it to be half, but COVID kind of pushed it along that way. But and you can look at it in two ways. You can look at it as a challenge and oh, it's a problem, we can't solve it. Or you can look at it, and I know Ray's heard this from me from the very beginning, this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to change the culture very quickly because you have all of these new people here. And one of the things that the organization never did, as evidenced by how many people were ERI eligible, is everyone stayed here forever in the same roles. And there was never any turnover. There was never, in fact, the idea of someone leaving here for a job, it was like, oh, we've done something wrong. Well, no, we've actually done something right. Because we've developed someone so that they can take a role that for whatever reason, we just don't have that opportunity here because there's somebody sitting above them in that role and they just don't have the opportunity. Well, that means we've done a good job because guess what? When they leave to go somewhere else to become a director or become a village manager because it's not available here, well, their position now opens up for somebody below them so that they can move up. So that turnover is healthy, and I think you've all found with new people coming in, you get new ideas, you get fresh ideas, ideas from somewhere else that all make things better. When I arrived here, the big thing here, and the organization was struggling with it when I got here. They were, how do we get people better? How do we develop people? And everything was 6 Sigma, 6 Sigma, 6 Sigma. We had all these 6 Sigma projects, green belt, black, yellow belt, all these projects all over the place. And at the end of the day, stepping back sometimes, the first thing you have to do is just stop doing stupid things. Everyone in your organization knows the stupid things that you do on a day-to-day basis. And I think I talked to Public Works, and Joel, I think it was before you were there, I went out and spoke about it. So if someone who has been here for 6 months, who is, the lowest paid guy here, or girl here, comes in and says, we're doing this kind of a goofy way, and we could save 5 minutes a day. Every person could save 5 minutes a day if we didn't do this. Well, 5 minutes a day times your 70 guys, that's 6 hours a day. That's 6 man-hours a day. Take that across a month, right? Now you're talking about 120 man-hours. And, so you break it down, it's a quarter of a crew. It's a quarter of a year for a crew that you can use them for other things just because someone found 5 minutes. So anyone can find those things. And I think something that was mentioned here that's real important is we need to reward the hard work and effort. And errors of commission are okay. When they're trying to do something, it's okay. It's the errors of laziness, inattention, those are the things that the organization can't take. Right? So we want people to be trying to do things, and we want people that work hard. That's what I think that's who we like working with. We like working with people that we can count on to do those things. There's a lot of leadership models, and you showed some of them up here, and they all work in different ways, and they work for different people. you have to find what works for you, and we have to find what works for the people that what connects with them, what do they understand. But writing it is one thing, I think, and this is great that we have this all written, it's great. Now, the key, though, is we got to do it, right? It's the doing it day in and day out that really matters and is going to change the organization. It's not just putting it on paper. Having it on paper is a nice resource, but it's really doing it every day. And, you know, we've gone through a lot of change, but this is we're in a great place now because of the change, because of the people, to actually put something like this in place and take the organization to the next level. And this was kind of always the idea was, hey, we have to, we're going to, for lack of a better term, we're going to have to break it first because of where we were. And because we brought everyone on, and quite frankly, we were dealing in quadrant number 1 because we were dealing with COVID. So everybody was dealing with quadrant number 1 because nobody knew what was going on and everything was urgent. The good thing is, though, is that allows your team to come together very quickly and learn how they work together quickly in a difficult time. So in some ways, it helped us get to this point. So I'm really excited to see this. It is something that's very hard to track and measure. I know Bill and I have talked about that. It's very hard because this is soft stuff, right? It's people skills. It's talking to people. It's not checking a box. Even if someone checks all the boxes and goes to all the training, that doesn't mean they're actually doing it, right? So it's part of our evolution, and that's why the evaluations are important. All the feedback that you give and the regular feedback that you give is important. But I'm excited because this is something that we've needed to do. It's taken 5 years since I've been here to get here. 3 years since some of the rest of you have been here, a year for some of you. But for 5 years, I'm really excited to see the organization taking this step. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
I abstained because of a business relationship with the contractor.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. I thought it was because you taught him how to play basketball.
It's, a little bit.
At least that's what you tell me.
Wolf Road widening, Southern Project Limit Extension, 143rd Street to 183rd Street, supplement number 4.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to recommend to approve the proposal from AECOM of Chicago, Illinois for the Wolf Road widening from 143rd Street to 183rd Street, Phase 1 Engineering Services, Supplement Number 4 for a not-to-exceed amount of $899,921 in professional fees. And I move to recommend authorizing the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. And just so everyone knows, this particular project is another one of those projects like 143rd that we've been at for 20 years, only they are ending it at 167th Street, and so we recognize that it needs to go all the way, it needs to go a lot further than 167th Street, so that's to get this on board for, once we get 143rd on board, then we're going to shift our attention to Wolf Road.
Any non-scheduled citizens or visitors?
Oh,
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Rashevsky?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. We're adjourned.
We're going to have a hearing here in a second, but I wanted to introduce our newest team member, Nicole Merced. Nicole is our new assistant to the village manager. She comes to us from
downstairs.
Downstairs. I know she was the management analyst in finance, and so now she's promoted to assistant to the village manager. Despite the fact that she got her master's degree from DePaul, we still hired her.
What's wrong with that?
And this is yet another example of someone getting promoted from within that, oh, by the way, my first 2 years didn't happen here very often. So congratulations, and we look forward to seeing you upstairs. And I guess we'll start the public hearing at what, 7 o'clock?
Yes, vote. Did you vote?
5 minutes? Okay.
Aye. My voice is
Call the public hearing to order. Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Trustee Compass.
Here.
Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Pika.
Here. Attorney Walsh.
Mr. Mayor, we're here today pursuant to a notice of appeal received by the Village of Orland Park on June 10th, 2022, appealing an order issued by the village manager on June 10th, 2022, suspending the tobacco license of Truly Blown Smoke and Vape for 30 days and assessing a $1,000 fine and specifying that any further violations of statute, regulations, or ordinance would be grounds for revocation of the business license. The appeal is heard by the Board of Trustees at this special meeting. Call for the purpose of the hearing of the appeal. The agenda for this special meeting has been posted. The appellant will have 15 minutes to present its appeal. The village prosecutor will then have 15 minutes to respond. And finally, the appellant will receive 5 minutes of rebuttal time. The village board will take the matter under advisement and issue a written opinion affirming, reversing, or modifying the village manager's hearing order. The appeal hearing before the Board of Trustees tonight is based exclusively on the record before the hearing officer, and no new evidence may be introduced at this hearing. Truly Brown and Smoke Vape is present through counsel. Counsel, please introduce yourself.
For the record, Scott, J. Scott Merced, M-A-R-S-I-K,
And is there any parties here other than yourself representing Truly Blown and Smoke and Vape?
Just the owner is present. That would be Mr. Furkan Sheikh. He's present right behind me, to my right.
Thank you. And the village prosecutor, please introduce yourself.
My name is Donna Norton, N-O-R-T-O-N, village prosecutor. Here with me today is Officer Michael Benjamin.
Thank you. Do either one of you have any questions about this proceeding?
No, sir.
No.
Mr. Mayor, may Mr. Merced proceed?
Yes.
Yeah, so again, my name is Scott Marsick. I'm the attorney representing the owner of the Truly Blown
You got the time.
Smoke shop located in Orland Park. I was present at the June 1st hearing. I think I came in a few minutes late. The police officers had already testified, I believe. My client could not be there. He had his first child born that morning, so he was not able to attend. So part of my remarks may sort of enhance what I said at the hearing. It was essentially in mitigation of the events or the citations that were presented to my client. But Mr. Furkan Sheikh, who's here present with me, is the licensee. It's an LLC. It is under the name, the license under the name of S&S Global LLC. I point out to the board here that the citations were issued, however, to Truly Blown Smoke and Vape Shop. It is a DBA used by the LLC owner. However, they are not the licensee. The licensee is in fact S&S Global LLC. So, but since we used the DBA of Truly Blown, I mean, how your citations are issued, but you know, I sort of accepted that and would have allowed them to amend the citations on their face if required to indicate the true license holder, which is the SS Global LLC. Mr. Sheikh took over this smoke and vape shop, opened near the end of 2020, and prior to that, the shop was owned by a company under the name of Truly Blown Smoke and Vape Shop. When Mr. Sheikh took over at the end of 2020, he bought the business from Truly Blown Smoke and Vape Shop owners, which was a corporation at the time. So having kept that DBA, the concern I had, and I brought it up in my appeal, was since there was a 30-day suspension, and he appeared at the, Mr. Sheikh appeared at the original April meetings that were held for these violations, and he was cited at that time $350 for the one violation and $500 for the other. And then we were summoned to appear June 1st for a license suspension hearing. But given the fact that it was a 30-day suspension for these two violations that occurred within a week of each other, I felt like maybe it's possible the prior owners had a history of violations over there at that location, because it seemed like a 30-day suspension was a bit harsh, since these were the first two violations he incurred occurring a week of each other. He did pay his fine, but then again, we were summoned to appear June 1st and resulted in this 30-day suspension. And again, since he's been the owner since the end of 2020, he has not had any violations since he opened, other than these two of March 17th and March 25th. And as I indicated at our June 1st hearing, in mitigation, the two employees that were present that day were terminated by the owner, Mr. Sheikh. They have, and as I brought up at the meeting, they have taken several steps to avoid this ever happening again, such as posting additional signage indicating no sales without production of a valid ID. Mr. Sheikh has also invested, at the cost of about $1,000, a new scanner that scans the ID actually to make sure, or to give an indication that it's valid ID of the person presenting it at the store. In addition, he is offering more intensive training of his new employees and existing employees that this does not occur in the future. He also, his new policy he is introducing, which I have indicated at the meeting, that he is also going to be sure he's present, or his brother, who's the second partner owner, present at all times at the store, to make sure that these there are strict policies enforced and occur during the times they're open. I also indicated, again, a small business owner. He owns another location in Glendale Heights, and he owns this location in Orland Park. A 30-day suspension during this, which is the busiest time of the year, this June and July, really impacts the gross sales to the point of, I calculated approximately 10% of the annual sales at that location. And it is a severe financial impact on a small business owner here in your community. Of course, they pay sales tax at that location, like most retail operations there. But it's a significant financial hardship given the high volume of June and July that this 30-day suspension will cover. Now, since the date of the suspension, which was June 11th, he closed the evening of June 10th, and the store is completely shut down and closed. They're not, even though they have some juices or some non-tobacco related products, they have completely closed the business and posted a sign that they are currently closed for renovation and inventory updates to better serve the community. So he is completely shut down at the moment, and you know, again, the economic impact is hard to tell, because you know, you want to bring the customers back you had, they see it's closed, they may never come back. So the sooner they're allowed to open, certainly the better for the future of the business. And as I said, in my letter of appeal, he had already paid $250 fine for the one violation, $500 for the other violation, and incurred the second one. And I thought the extra $1,000 fine I saw was sort of doubling down, again, a very substantial impact with the 30-day suspension alone, let alone add another $1,000 onto it when he already paid $750. So we are hopeful the board would consider possibly reducing the 30-day period to either a time served or through the weekend. I think it'll bring him to about half of that. Well, not through the weekend. Through the week, he is at the currently at the 10th day of being closed. So we were seeking that possible relief of possibly shortening the 30-day suspension, possibly eliminating the $1,000 fine. So we respectfully request you to consider and possibly grant at least a portion of our request in this appeal.
Do you rest?
I rest. At least my testimony, yeah. I don't think you wanted to hear from Mr. Shake because he couldn't be here on the
There's no
first.
testimony, so. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Norton?
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, I'd like to start by giving you a brief history of how it is that we got here and the facts and circumstances that bring us before you for you to consider the request of the appellant at this time. On June 1st, 2022, the village manager presided over a hearing regarding the future status of the business license and tobacco license of S&S Global, doing business in Orland Park as Truly Blown, which is located at 8104 West 143rd Street. The notice of hearing alleged 6 violations of village code. Thank you. Thank you. The basis of those 6 counts were 2 instances of underage sale of tobacco to a minor. The hearing officer found that Truly Blown was in violation of village code as alleged in the notice of hearing and ordered a 30-day suspension of only their tobacco license as well as a $1,000 fine. Multiple times throughout the year, Orland Park police officers conduct compliance checks on businesses within the village that sell tobacco. The purchases are conducted by the Orland Park Police Department in a covert capacity with the aid of individuals who are under the age of 21 years and who are employed by the Orland Park Police Department as tobacco enforcement agents, also known as TEAs. Those individuals' identities are kept private and classified and are treated in much the same way as that of confidential informants. At the hearing, Orland Park Police Officer Michael Benjamin testified that on March 25th, 2021, he was conducting tobacco compliance checks with a 17-year-old TEA. He instructed the TEA to enter Truly Blown and purchase a specific tobacco product. And Officer Benjamin remained outside and observed through the window. The employee of Truly Blown requested to see the TEA's identification, and even though the state-issued ID indicated the individual is a juvenile, the clerk sold the tobacco to the TEA anyway. An MV citation was issued. Truly Blown pled liable at the municipal violation hearing, and the minimum $250 fine was imposed. Officer Benjamin also testified that on March 17th, 2022, he was conducting village tobacco compliance checks with an 18-year-old TEA. He instructed the TEA to enter Truly Blown and purchase a specific tobacco product, and as Officer Benjamin again remained outside and observed through the window. In that instance, the employee never asked the TEA for their identification before selling the tobacco. An MV citation was issued. Truly Blown pled liable at the municipal violation hearing and was fined $500. The fine increased because this was their second violation. None of these facts are in dispute and have never been contested at any stage by Truly Blown. Truly Blown holds a Class B tobacco license, meaning that they are a tobacco store as defined under the code. Their primary function is the sale of tobacco and alternative nicotine products. The central focus of their business is the sale of products that cannot be purchased by anyone under the age of 21. And yet, on 2 occasions within a 12-month period, they failed a village compliance check. In their appeal notice, and as council argued today, Truly Blown implies the possibility that violations committed by the previous owner may have been considered against the current owner in this case. I can assure this board that no violations committed under any previous owner were presented during the hearing, nor were any considered by the hearing officer. I am unaware of any violations by Truly Blown committed prior to the current owner's acquisition of the business on October 13th, 2020, as indicated in Village Exhibit Number 1 that was presented at the hearing. Truly Blown argues that a 30-day suspension is too harsh for a quote-unquote first offense. However, I point out to this board that this is not a first offense situation. The June 1st license revocation hearing addressed the first and second offenses committed by the business, all again occurring within a 12-month period. Although these were 2 separate instances, there were multiple violations of village code in each case. And again, the acts and omissions by the employees on each of these dates violate the core of Truly Blown's business. In one instance, the clerk actually looked at the identification of a 17-year-old and still sold tobacco. And in the second, the clerk never even asked for identification from an 18-year-old. Revocation was an option available to the hearing officer, but he did not choose the harshest penalty. On June 1st, the hearing officer stated, and it is repeated in the written order before you, that he considered the mitigation efforts proffered by the business when coming to his determination. Those efforts being termination of the employees involved, posting of additional signage, and instituting intensive employee training. The hearing officer, in weighing these efforts in the balance, believed that a 30-day suspension and fine was appropriate under these facts. Each case is weighed and evaluated under the unique facts each presents the hearing officer with. There is no cookie-cutter approach to the imposition of penalties. In addition to a suspension, Village Code allows for up to a $1,000 fine to be imposed on each violation proven at the hearing. In this instance, Truly Blown could have been fined up to $6,000 based on 6 counts. Instead, the hearing officer imposed a lesser amount of $1,000 total. Truly Blown asked this court to consider lowering the $1,000 fine in light of the fact that they have already paid a total of $750 in fines. Truly Blown calls the $1,000 fine quote-unquote duplicative. However, as stated in the Village Code under Title VII dealing with licensing, suspension, and revocation, any penalties imposed by the hearing officer, quote, shall be in addition to any other provision imposing a penalty for the violation of any section of the code or ordinances of the village, end quote. The municipal ordinance violation administrative hearing process is separate and apart from any action the village manager's office may take regarding the licensing of business, which falls under their purview. The issue this board is to decide is whether the hearing officer's decision to suspend Truly Blown's tobacco license for 30 days and impose a $1,000 fine is against the manifest weight of the evidence. That means that you should not overturn the hearing officer's order unless you find that his decision was obviously erroneous or unsupported by the evidence presented. The order issued by the hearing officer suspending the business license of Truly Blown was the result of careful consideration of all the testimony and the evidence. I submit to you that the finding and the penalty imposed are not against the manifest weight of the evidence. It is to the benefit of the village to have thriving, successful businesses within the corporate limits of Orland Park. Good businesses make good neighbors and partners, and that benefits not only the village, but other businesses in the area. But it also adds to the quality of life of the citizens, residents, and guests of Orland Park. No one wants to see a business in Orland Park fail. No one wants a business license to be suspended or revoked. These actions are not taken lightly. Thank you.
You have 5 minutes for your rebuttal.
I do want to clarify the amount of, council refers to multiple violations during each of the 2 citations that were issued. Now, I know each incident involves 2 violations. That's 4 in my estimate. Everything I have in front of me, it's a sale, it's not checking an ID, and it's the actual sale to a minor. Those are 2 things for each, not 6. So unless I can determine, or unless it can be shown to me where there are 6 and multiple violations, yes, two from each incident. I'm only aware of ID, not checking an ID, and sale to a minor. Two in each instance. So it's probably worth correcting the record to reflect the amount of violations for each of those instances. And again, other than that, I would just again say that my client has taken several steps to, including what I didn't know was the purchase of this new scanning equipment, which will be in full force once they reopen, and the other things that I said he's done to avoid this happening in the future. And again, he's looking at a substantial impact on the gross sales of a business, and it may exceed 10% of the annual revenue for this type of business, given the time of the year we're imposing the 30-day suspension. So again, please consider a possible reduction, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Any public comment? No.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Yeah, I know. I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session. I guess I'll have to say it
Mr.
for you.
Chairman.
To consider evidence or testimony presented in open hearing or to a quasi-adjudicated body, provided that the body prepares and make available for public inspection a written decision setting forth its determinative reasoning.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye. All right, we're going to go into executive session.
Trustee Compass. Here. Trustee Reardon. Here. Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Peacock.
Here.
Mr. Chairman?
I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye. Up to the board. You want to go right into the meeting?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
Give me about 30 seconds, right?
We're going to give clerk a minute.
No,
No, can we take 2 minutes?
I'm ready.
Sure.
I'm ready.
Sorry.
All right. We'll reconvene in a couple minutes. Meeting to order, call the roll.
Trustee Healy. Here. Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Trustee Compass.
Here.
Trustee Reardon.
Here.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Here.
Mayor Peacock. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the June 6, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting of June 6, 2022.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Accounts payable approval.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the accounts payable from June 7th, 2022 through June 20th, 2022 in the amount of $3,636,016.98.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Trustee Healy, which item did you need to remove?
I'm sorry.
Which item did you need to remove?
I would like to see item L removed.
I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through K.
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Reardon. Aye.
Oh, sorry.
You can't vote on it.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye. Item L.
I got it. Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to approve the strategy and tactics of the Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program and to approve training resources for the Village of Orland Park Leadership Development Program as articulated in this agenda report and to authorize the village manager to execute an agreement subject to village attorney review with one positive place in the submitted proposal amount for executive communication coaching.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Abstain for a business relationship with one positive place.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Main pump station, pump number 3, replacement engineering bid award.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Reardon.
I move to approve accepting the proposal from Greeley and Hanson of Chicago, Illinois for main pump station number 3 replacement engineering services for a cost of $31,835 plus 10% contingency of $3,183.50 for a total not to exceed $35,018.50 and authorize the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount and to authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to a village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Peacock.
Aye.
Stormwater detention basin evaluation of private ponds to develop deficiencies, engineering master agreement.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani. Or Trustee Healy, sorry. You're very well.
I move to approve the private stormwater detention basin evaluation proposal submitted by Engineering Resource Associates for $131,309 plus a 10% contingency of $13,130.90 for a total of $144,439.90 and authorize the village manager to approve the change orders not to exceed the contingency amount, and to authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to a village attorney review.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Mayor? I have a question. First of all, the title of it says private ponds, and when you look at the motion, it doesn't have anything about private ponds in there. That's one question. Second is, how does this fit into the stuff we did about, I don't know, a month or two ago about the evaluation of the private ponds and all the work we've been doing.
These are the private ones. We evaluated the 180 some that are ours. These are the 321. So to approve the private stormwater detention basin.
Right.
So these are the private stormwater. These are private ponds.
Right, and haven't we been having trouble with some of the private ponds as well? I mean, that's...
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. We have quite an extensive number, and this will allow us to give that to all the owners, what the deficiencies those ponds have. So it's the next step that we talked about.
Okay. And Trustee Reardon, if you recalled, a few meetings ago, we had a group come in from Quail Hollow.
Yep.
That is a private pond.
Yep.
And so we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And so now this will be similar to what we did with the public pond evaluation. We're going to go around and just make sure that we're fulfilling our obligations under MWRD rules.
Yeah, I think it's important for the public to know that we're doing this at the cost to all the taxpayers in Orland to make sure we know, so that these private owners can't come back later and say, well, I didn't know, or I didn't, So we're spending a little money now to hopefully save us money, a year from now or 2 years from now when they're barking at us to try to fix their pond, kind of thing.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus, I think it's important that we let them know this needs to get done. And,
Right.
It's a private pond. You're responsible for maintenance, and even if it's gone 30 years without it, you need to get it up to speed.
And the rest of the taxpayers of Orland Park shouldn't be paying for it. That's the problem. That's, I think, what we're running into.
Right.
The goal really also is to create that awareness for those owners that a lot of them don't even know that they own ponds, and also have that plan for the future that they should assess that pond down the road, like 10 years from now. They can then see the difference of improvement of what they maybe improved their pond, and then keep that pond at its current state.
Right, and for those ponds that aren't in bad shape yet, that they can do that. They can do some regular maintenance that isn't as costly, so they don't let it get to that point.
Moving from zone 2 to zone 1, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Baseball field lighting at Centennial Field number 5.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to approve the use of Sourcewell contract number 071619-MSL for quote 186371 dated June 9th, 2022 from Musco Sports Lighting LLC for LED lighting and installation at Centennial Park Ball Field number 5 for $215,000, and authorize the village manager to execute all related contracts subject to village attorney review.
Second.
Any questions or comments? So how many fields do we have over there that are LED now?
I don't know. To be truthful, I know 6 through 9 are Musco lights as well, but just one is LED.
Okay. And so we're planning on doing this a little bit each year?
We'll do a plan for bringing some fields on year by year.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
Village Hall Finance North renovation, ITB 22-026.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve awarding ITB 22/026 to Kraus Construction, Inc. of Blue Island, Illinois, for a total amount not to exceed $205,695.60, which is $186,996, plus a 5% contingency of $18,699.60, and to authorize the village manager to execute all contracts subject to village attorney review, and to allow the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount.
Second.
And George, the changes here, from the looks of it, are primarily LED fixtures and also fixing some of the heating and cooling, which are problematic throughout the building.
And that's the major cost, is the HVAC repairs.
Okay. Any other questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
104th Avenue Multi-Use Path Intergovernmental Agreement with Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Milani.
move to approve the intergovernmental agreement by and between the Village of Orland Park and the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways, CCDOTH, for the construction of the 104th Avenue multi-use path from 159th Street to 163rd Place in Orland Park, Illinois.
Second.
Any comments? And so this is a project we've been fighting for quite some time, and we finally got some money. Although it's all Cook County project, we were paying for a fairly large portion of it, or have paid, correct? And we also found funding from other sources as well, correct?
Yes, so we paid for the design fees. We got another $1.3 million from ITEP, and then we got about $500,000 from Cook County.
So Cook County can thank us very much for, they only had to spend $500,000 for their $2 million project. So we're thankful to do their job for them again. So, okay, great. And I'm really looking forward to this being done because I was riding down the middle of that road today. So, yeah, that half mile can be a dangerous stretch if it's at the time when the mosque is letting out or letting in. Call the roll.
Trustee Milani?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Compass?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Mayor Peacock?
Aye.
RFP number 22-024, 94th Avenue and 159th Street Traffic Intersection Safety Study Award.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Compass.
I move to reject the proposal submitted for RFP number 22-024, 94th Avenue and 159th Street Traffic Safety Study and issue a new RFP.
Second.
So it appears there's a lot of confusion. This goes to Trustee Katsinas on a different project, $18,000 to $194,000. So they didn't really understand the requirements here.
Yes, one of the consultants did not understand the requirements of the project, and they responded in a different way, and then they complained in writing, so that's why we are proposing an amendment to that.
But one consultant, the other three got it right?
That's true, but there is some language in our addendum number 1 that could be construed, or that could be looked at the way they have interpreted it.
Did we have our attorneys look at this, and was that their suggestion was for us to rebid it?
I did look at it. The question was whether or not the board should go ahead and go back out for an RFP, and I said that was fine.
So that was fine, or you recommended it?
I didn't recommend it. I was...
Since it's an RFP, we wouldn't even have to bring it here. A bid requires the kind of the circle of life, but here, an RFP, we had it on the agenda already, and to alleviate any type of concern or challenges to the contract, we're just going to start this whole process over again. It's not a time-sensitive project, so we're going to just give us the opportunity that we don't have to then respond to challenges.
Well, that'll bring me to my second question, but I'm still stuck on this because if it's not substantially different, then Baxter and Woodman essentially now has the prices of everybody else, which now everyone has everyone's prices, so it makes it not as competitive. That's my concern here from the other three contractors' perspective.
At the end of the day, I mean, if the board wants to proceed, obviously we will proceed. What we're trying to do is just avoid any challenges. That's it.
But you could negotiate if you want to. You could negotiate with any one of those, any one of the entities that submitted.
Right, but okay. So do we think the pricing is good?
Yes, the scope that reflects for the one we had recommended before, DAMA, D-A-M-A, they were the right scope and right fee.
But they were not the lowest.
Okay, so...
They might be.
Okay, so the score was 97, 94, 89, 96, but, okay. So then my next question is, you said it's not urgent, so why are we doing this? What's the end goal of spending this money on this traffic study? We know it's a tough intersection. What's going to be the result of it? We already put in a camera, and that's helped the safety situation somewhat, and we know that from accidents, right? And we know that it's the most dangerous intersection, that and 159th and LaGrange are the most dangerous intersections in town. So what's this study for?
So the mayor, in the last 4 years, this intersection has close to 150 accidents. And 90% of those accidents are either rear end or vehicle turning left or right. And so there are mechanisms out there, including adjusting the traffic signals, that can bring those accidents down by a significant number. So we're trying to understand what is the trend. We know from the outside what those types of accidents are. We really want to understand what is causing those, specifically those two types of accidents. Once we understand that, there are mechanisms or techniques out there that we can implement, either through our own resources or through IDOT and Cook County's money to address that.
So if I'm not mistaken, that's an IDOT road with the Cook County.
So east-west is all IDOT, 159 is all IDOT. The south approach is Cook County, north approach is ours.
Okay. And so why are Cook County and IDOT not ponying up for this traffic study? Or are they just not concerned about safety?
We can certainly ask them, but we'll ask.
I mean, it's just going to be another case of us spending money that the county and state. I mean, the county gets, what, $35 million in taxes from us every year. The state gets $100 grand worth-ish in taxes from us every year. I think that they could start picking up some of these costs if they're so concerned about safety, as we hear.
So Mayor, our approach is, as we are doing on many of other projects, is to invest the first set of dollars so that we can get the actual improvement dollars out of them.
Okay. You mean like 143rd?
143rd, John Humphrey Drive. I can give you a list.
Yes.
It works sometimes, though. We just approve the bike path.
Yeah, but we spent how much of our money to get that?
We spent about $250,000 on that.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question. So if you were to rebid it, these bids, I'm looking at the dates, are from back in April, just with labor shortages and whatnot. I mean, would you think that it would go up significantly?
I don't expect the number. Sorry, I don't expect the numbers will go up. They will stay.
They would stay.
Substantially, it will stay the same.
Yeah, and I guess my concern gets back to when you rebid it. They see their score. I mean, I guess we'll throw it out there and see what happens, and then we'll negotiate from there. So, as many of you know, I've personally dealt with this on a very large contract here, where it was actually first put out improperly, and but no one got to open anything, so no one saw the bid, and then it was rebid, and so no one had any advantages or disadvantages, and the bids probably came down about $1 million each because of how it was scoped. So
Mayor, because this is an RFP, we have a little bit better control than if it was a bid.
Well, that was an RFP also.
Okay.
So. Okay, call the roll.
Trustee Compass? Aye. Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Reardon?
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Non-scheduled citizens and visitors? Must be hot out. Trustee Reardon?
Board comments?
Board comments.
Board comments, yep.
First, on the leadership initiative, I think it's great, but again, the devil in the details. The quality of it is going to be, based on how much, everyone buys in, and so I'm looking forward to that over the next, couple of years. So great work on it so far, but let's keep up on that. I think you said it's going to be in our monthly kind of packets of where we're at, so I'm looking forward to that. I don't think we'll be back before the 4th of July, so everyone have a good 4th of July, will we? No,
July 5th. The Tuesday.
The Tuesday the 5th, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of great activities. Everybody knows. Check out the website. Come to a number of the events around town. Enjoy yourself, but be safe. And then I got to say something about this. All these road projects. we do a lot of work and we spend a lot of money on this type of thing. And I think it's one of the reasons why, Orland is listed in all these great, places to live, because we're taking the initiative. But at some point, it's, I'm new, I'm old to Orland Park for 12 years, but I'm new to the board for a year. And to see this every meeting come up, we need people to know this, that what we're doing, how much money we're spending to try to start these projects. Because if we don't even start them ourselves, they're never going to happen. So we got to at least get the ball rolling. But, our state and our county, we would never be anywhere close to where we are in Orland Park if we didn't take that initiative and spend that money. There's a lot of towns that can't spend that money. So the problems on other levels of government need to understand, because this benefits so many more people than just, Illinois, or just Orland Park. So it's just a frustration, I guess. I know you guys are doing the best you can to get the money and push them, but it's really frustrating. Thank you.
Trustee Healy.
Well said, Brian. And I'm going to expand on your July 4th comment a little bit. I hope everybody has a great time here at the fireworks. It's our celebration, but also if you could remember the founders of our country, and I'm sure everybody has a picture or something like that in their house, that they could spend some time with a child or a grandchild or one of their childs, and just remind them that these people did start this whole country as an experiment, and it's so far so good, but it's still threatened every day, and I think we need those constant reminders of the virtues that these people put into our Constitution. Thanks.
Trustee Radiszewski.
I hope everyone had a nice Father's Day yesterday, so happy Father's Day to all the dads, grandfathers, father figures. And I wanted to also comment about the leadership training. I really feel as though the best investment that any organization can make is in their employee. It's your people. So thank you for all that you're doing to put that program together. I'm looking forward to seeing the results. Thank you.
Trustee Compass.
So I'd also like to say belated Happy Father's Day and Happy Juneteenth. As many of you likely already know, the police department has issued the 2021 annual report regarding the prior year's data, accomplishments, and important public safety information. This report details the outstanding work performed by our department on a daily basis, and I would encourage all residents to review it. You're getting it there directly from the source rather than from the anecdotal and often inaccurate stories that you sometimes see online. But above and beyond keeping us safe each day, the department also has numerous community events. And if you've not previously participated in those events or those programs, I'd strongly encourage you to do that as well. Take the time to speak with the officers in our community. Recently, we've had Cookout with the Cops, Cones with the Cops, with more to come over the summer. I had the opportunity to watch some of the Teen Citizens Police Academy, which is an excellent program that teaches teenagers about how our department operates and demystifies law enforcement for them. One program that really stands out each year is our department's involvement with Special Olympics. This past Saturday, we had the car show with nearly ideal weather. However, as many of you will recall, last Tuesday was an especially hot day. On that Tuesday afternoon, several officers ran the torch for the Special Olympics down 159th and 167th in 98 degrees. When I checked the heat index at 3:10 p.m., Weather.com reported that the feels-like temperature was 110 degrees. So if we did not know how dedicated our department was to our community, that certainly underscores it. I'd like to individually acknowledge all those that braved the heat for this worthy cause. The runners were Ken Rosinski, Wayne Lee, Bill Fitzgibbon, Tina Netzel, Ron Arendt, John Folliard, Chris Lacerdo, Tyler Lorick, Dave Hansen, Nate O'Connor, Tim Murray, Dan Lombardo, Yesenia Tenorio, Gonzalo Morales, and although he excluded his name from the list, I have video evidence that Chief Rossi also ran. So thank you all for your dedication.
Trustee Malani.
Well, Bill already hit the 4th of July, so just have a happy and safe 4th of July, and thank you for coming.
Trustee Katsinas.
Well, I'll give you more information about 4th of July. We have a wonderful band called Forecast that's going to be playing at Centennial Park on July 4th from 7:15 to 9:30, and the fireworks will actually start at 9:30. Also a reminder with the hot, humid days, Sean just talked about, Trustee Compass, the Village of Orland Park Police Station remains a cooling center. So if you have any elderly friends, family, who have the unfortunate circumstance of their air conditioning going out on a hot and humid day, please consider that as a solution, temporary solution. Have a happy, safe 4th of July. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Trustee Katsinas gave the cooling center information, which is great because it's going to be very hot, 100 degrees tomorrow is what I saw. We have a lot of events coming up before July 4th. So we have a concert on the 25th, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So for those of you who like horn bands of the 70s, like Chicago, Blood, Sweat, and Tears was another great one. So please come out and enjoy yourself. It's always a good time. It doesn't seem to matter who's out there playing. It's just a great, if you have 5 or 6 hours of music and just having a good time. You can bring your own food, your own drink. So please come out and enjoy that. We have the Liberty Run on the Friday the 1st, and then also July 4th festivities that Trustee Katsinas just talked about. One thing nobody talked about, which surprised me, yesterday was Father's Day. And like many of us here, being a dad is the most important thing that I've ever done. This is true now more than ever. So here are some important statistics. Nearly 18.5 million children grow up without their fathers in the U.S. Sadly, the U.S. leads the world in fatherless children. 85% of children and teens with behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. Over 70% of adolescent patients in drug and alcohol treatment centers come from homes without fathers. A strong nuclear family gives enormous benefits to our children. Data shows that children without a father in the home are 5 times more likely to live in poverty than a child in a 2-parent household. Children without fathers at home are 9 times more likely to drop out of school. 90% of homeless and runaway children come from fatherless homes. Many of us, most of us, were lucky enough to have dads, and there are many dads in this room and watching this video. These are sobering statistics that remind us to look beyond our own homes and volunteer to coach and mentor those children that were not as lucky as us. Today, I want to thank my dad for all that he did for me and for Orland Park. Trustee Reardon just talked about the roads. Before my dad passed, he talked about, so he was part of the board that cast the vote to build the mall. And as he said, that vote ended his political career because everyone who voted for it got voted out in the next election if they were up. And he said, never gave it a second thought and still would do it today, because that's why Orland Park can afford all those roads. I also learned when I got here that he was on the founding board of the OIA, and I knew he was on the founding board of the Pioneers. So dads do a lot. I probably didn't say it enough when he was still with us, but I'm sure he knew how I felt, because after all, he was a dad. The other thing I want to mention is we talk about July 4th, and July 4th, celebrates the independence of our nation and the Declaration of Independence. I think there's 2 sentences in that declaration that are pretty important, especially given that we have an election in 8 days. These 2 sentences are, we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. We are all the governed. We get an opportunity to vote next Tuesday, and opportunity to vote right now. It's very important to exercise that right. So with that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Compass.
I move to go into executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, the appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performances, or dismissal of specific village employees, C, the purchase or lease of real property for the use of the village, D, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village, or when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Compass.
Aye.
Trustee Milani.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Reardon.
Aye.
Trustee Radiszewski.
Aye.
Mayor Pika.
Aye. All right. Going to session.